Welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. I am your host, Jesse Disbro, the Smark. And along with me this week is the Mark Matt Cooper. Say hello, Matt.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
He didn't just say hello, and he didn't add his name. Yes, there's that holiday thing, Christmas, coming up this week. Would be when AEW and NXT would be on TV, but I believe both shows are taking the week off.
As they should, for the performers to be at home with their families, I should say.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice if you could be home with your family instead of on the road making wrestling?
Be sure to tune in to Instagram so you can see Alexa Bliss at home with her pig. It still blows my mind she has that pig. That thing is as big as she is, man.
Yeah, Larry Steve's a celebrity.
Well, I mean, evidently you can domesticate pigs and they can be house pets.
Yeah. So, yeah. Absolutely. They don't just dig around for truffles or anything,
No, they don't poop on the floor, which I've heard pig shit is a level of its own. So,
well, I mean, it's probably because of what farms are feeding pigs in the first place.
It's a good thing to consider, isn't it? I'm sure that Alexa Bliss's pig is raised nothing but the most finest of pig food.
Well, speaking on whether or not the shit stinks, this week we'll have a podcast that we talk about all the things that happened this year that we liked or whether we thought was crap. And we'll also have our normal marking out, little smarks from Marks, because there was a couple of things that happened this week that were of interest. And we'll close out with our hot tag, hot take, and our finishing move. And we'll send you all off to the holidays and then catch you before the new year, where the following week we'll talk about what we think, what we want, and what we don't want in the new year in 2020.
Yes.
The year of hindsight.
20. I like to think of it as the roaring 20s. Next year is when we're supposed to start making gin in our bathtubs, Jesse.
Yes.
So.
Well, we've already started the steps towards Prohibition 2.0. You won't be able to buy tobacco at the age of 18 in 2020 in the United States of America.
No. There's some research that shows blah, 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 blah. Argue about it in the comments. So, anywho, let's go to the first segment of our show, which is called Marking Out. So marking out is where I choose one thing as the mark that made me go during the week. Something that made me mark the fuck out. Hard to find something here in these sleepy days at the end of the year, but the thing that made me mark out this week was that I found a rumor, unsubstantiated, wholly out of whole cloth maybe, on Instagram that Ruby Riott might be coming back next year. Yay! I'm a big Ruby Riott mark. I think the Riott Squad was great. And it'd be nice to see Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan have something to do again.
Well, I think Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan are going to be separate.
Really?
From Ruby Riott when she comes back. It'll probably just be Ruby Riott. Because they're working on a repackage for Liv Morgan, where all I really see is her sitting in a bathtub, submerged in a bathtub.
She's just sitting there cross-legged looking at the wall?
No. Just her face is above water.
Oh, lounging in the tub.
Yes.
So she doesn't sit in the bathtub cross-legged and stare at the faucet and wonder why things are the way they are, like somebody I know.
No, not recently, at least. Yeah. So, there's some sort of business going on with that, and they've done a couple of vignettes. People think it might be Emelina 2.0.
Emelina was
Emma, who's Tenelle Dashwood, who's now, I think she's wrestling in Impact and some other places. She was Emma, and she started out as this, happy-go-lucky Australian doing a weird dance, and there's bubbles and everything. That was what it was.
Yeah, and then the Iconics do that now.
Yeah, pretty much, except there's no, it's different kind of weird dance, and there's no bubbles.
Yeah.
They're actually all friends, all three of them.
I'm sure.
Yes, and but then she became mean, and she had She had like silver lipstick and aviators, and she was mean. And then there was supposed to be a repackage, and there was vignettes for it for like 3 months. Emelina coming soon, and it was just like her in bathing suits doing like model shoots on a beach.
Seriously.
Yep, and then there was Emelina. Well, it ended up she got injured, I think, at some point during the build. And then they restarted the build, and then they said coming tonight, and the Emelina music played, and then she came out and said, "Fuck that, we're not doing that."
Well, that's not quite as bad as the build we had for what's his name, the big hairy racist, who made his amends, as from what I've heard. But
yes, and is injured. Lars Sullivan.
Lars Sullivan. There we go. Okay.
The Lars Sullivan is worse. Is better. Much better than how this turned out.
Than how Melina.
Than how Emelina turned out. Yes.
Emelina, okay. Melina, not the toothy one from Mortal Kombat.
Correct. Not the one that Zelina Vega has dressed up as.
Which, by the way, Melina, superior to Katana, and I'll fight you about that. Better moves, better attitude, and will eat your face.
Yes, all the things you want in a girlfriend. So,
yes.
If Ruby Riott does come back, it will probably be by her lonesome. I'm not sure what they're doing with Sarah Logan. Otherwise, I would.
But she's got it seems like she's gone, at least according to her Instagram, she's gone further into the Viking thing. So maybe they could stick her with the Viking War Raiders experience.
Of course, that's the logical place. That's where that's her husband. It's one of the Viking Raiders, and it would make a lot of sense. And it seems like a cool character move. Except, there's no stables with men and women allowed in the WWE.
Dumb. Sanity had a woman.
That's not in the WWE. That was NXT.
Oh, give me a fucking break. That's
why male Sanity went up. That's why Enzo and Big Cass went up and Carmella didn't. Unless you are the business partner. If you are not a wrestling, like Zelina Vega doesn't wrestle.
I would argue otherwise. And she was in, well, I mean, not consistently, but she can wrestle.
Yes, but she doesn't. She's not booked on a singles match. She's not booked in a this or that match. She was booked in mixed tag when Sin Cara had Carolina as a tag team.
She was also in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble.
Of course, when they need more bodies, they know that she can wrestle, so they throw her in there. That's how it's handled.
Well, I would argue her palling around with Andrade Cien Almas is not a stable. That's just
it's a manager.
Andrade with a manager.
Yeah. Just like Lana and Rusev or Lana and Lashley. That's not a tag team. That's a manager.
Oh, please don't bring up Lana and Rusev.
So, on that note, here's the Smarks remarks. Here's the things that happened in the week that was that are important for you to know. And Seth Rollins has cemented his alliance with AOP.
Now, I think this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
I think it gives the authors of Pain a good route to come back, and Seth Rollins is not going to be booked to piss himself. It wasn't Drake Maverick's fault when that happened. I don't blame Drake Maverick. I blame Vince McMahon squarely, and then the writers cubedly. But I'm excited about that, actually.
Yeah, I think Seth could be a top villain in a show that kind of really needs a top villain, especially seeing Seth will have a chance to carry the brand in two different ways. After beating, after he carried the brand as the Intercontinental Champion, then carried the brand as the World Champion after beating Brock Lesnar and putting the title back on the TV. And now that Brock Lesnar is going to be off TV for a while, he gets to carry the brand as the top heel on Raw. So that should be fun to watch. Let's see, what else did we have here? The OC look like they're getting over.
Cool.
They beat the Viking Raiders in a non-title match.
Boo, but okay.
And then
the OC. No, I like the OC.
Yes, the OC.
Gallows
and Anderson. Gallows and
Anderson. Okay, thank you.
That's the OC.
I was flipping through the filing cabinet of my mind. It's very unorganized.
All right, two letters.
Like the OC, or Orange Cassidy.
Yes, the
No.
Orange Cassidys. One of them is actually Orange Cassidy, and then there's also somebody who wasn't even bothered enough to dress up like Orange Cassidy.
That is peak Orange Cassidy right there.
Yep, that would be peak Orange Cassidy. Anyway, so that was basically Raw. Those two stables, AOP and Seth Rollins, crashed the gauntlet match for the U.S. title, and beat the crap out of Rey Mysterio, who is the U.S. champion. So, as I was saying, now the top title on the TV right now is the U.S. Championship. So, Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins for the U.S. Championship is now the top feud. There you go.
Where did the Universal title go? I don't even know who has it right now.
Bray Wyatt has the Universal title.
Wait, he's not on Raw though. He's
Nope,
on SmackDown.
He's on SmackDown.
Oh, that's right. It moved.
Yes, it
Okay.
moved. It swapped. It swapped afterwards. Because Brock Lesnar had some sort of contract thing where the Fox executives didn't want Brock Lesnar on their show or something like that, so they traded him for future considerations.
It is hunting season, actually.
So whatever it ended up being. Yeah. So that's that. For that. Friday, I'm gonna skip to Friday Night SmackDown because NXT was probably the best show last week.
Okay, so you're gonna say that for the end, is what we're saying.
I'm gonna save that for the end. So,
okay.
Daniel Bryan is back in his shaven glory.
Yeah, interesting. This feeds into that theory online that everybody the Fiend touches reverts back to like an older gimmick or like a bad guy sort of gimmick or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Daniel Bryan isn't a bad guy. He's just the American Dragon.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I buy that.
I think he's still the fan favorite, the American Dragon, not the, when he came up and choked a dude out with a microphone cord. Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. I mean, he hasn't turned the Miz into a classic heel yet, so he's still a white meat babyface family man. So
well, the Miz faced Daniel Bryan. He didn't face
that's
the
true.
Fiend. Yeah,
that's true.
No. See, you know what? I think this is just shit the fans are coming up with on their own.
Of course,
I don't actually think that's the plan.
They have to headcanon it because it's much better than the actual real story that's happening.
Of course.
But we had our Miracle on 34th Street fight.
Oh, good. I'm sure Joe would have liked that.
Yep. And Heavy Machinery went over the Revival, and we had that. We had that dangerous.
Even better for Revival fans. They got beaten in a gimmick match by Heavy Machinery.
Yeah, that's all right. Heavy Machinery also apparently had ham. Holiday ham. And that's actually how the match came apart. They did some mat booking. Otis was ready to have his Christmas ham, and the oh no, I guess that was during the actual match that happened. But there was ham involved, and there was a big ham spot, and then there was the bag, and it was Santa bag, and normally when you open a bag and dump its contents out in the ring, it's thumbtacks, but in this time, it was Legos.
Oh, God. Even worse.
I know. And Dawson took the brunt of it, getting slammed down onto the Legos. Ugh.
Actually, you know what? The thumbtacks go into you, and then they stop hurting. The Legos just lay against your skin and hurt the whole time, I guess.
And then you have an imprint of Legos that you can almost build off of after you come up there.
I'm sure fans of the Revival, and there are some fervent fans of the Revival out there, are happy that they ate pins in a gimmick match against Heavy Machinery. Yes. Although Otis seems to be getting more and more beloved.
He's absolutely 100% over, and I mean that's fun.
Of course.
So Daniel Bryan and The Miz teamed together, had a fun match against Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin, as
we know him now.
And they messed up here in the recap on WWE.com because the featured superstar says Kofi Kingston instead of Baron Corbin.
Somebody writing at WWE.com is remembering the days of yore.
No, it's probably just that
Of this year.
whoever does that little sidebar HTML still had it stuck from a previous one, because the New Day did fight Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro in tag action.
Oh Jesus, that's actually a pretty good match.
And yeah, and yes, I'm sure it was. I didn't get to see it, but I keep remembering that Xavier Woods is dead because they're wearing those XW armbands still for the New Day.
Don't forget about our man Xavier Woods.
Yep.
You know, that's something I've always liked about the New Day. At least the current incarnation of the New Day. They are very supportive of each other. And that's fantastic.
It's just
modern audiences want to see, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they might read into wearing a black armband with the person's initials on it differently than I do. But when I see a black armband with somebody's initials on it, that's usually a sign of mourning to me, yeah. So I don't know, I maybe if it was unicorn colors, I'd be wholeheartedly behind it instead of like the half-heartedly that I am.
Well, what if they're trying to showcase black excellence?
I assume that's why I said at the very beginning, I guess it means something different to them than it does to me.
You know what? Black might be cheaper.
It might also be cheaper. That's a good call. But they all three of them just re-signed a new multi-year deal. So what do they need to be cheap about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Good on them. I mean, if anybody's come out the year relatively unscathed, untopped, still relatively beloved, it's probably the New Day. Mm-hmm. Opinion really hasn't changed for the worse for them throughout the entire year of wrestling. So,
and here's the last thing from SmackDown. It appears Lacey Evans is being pushed as a face.
Okay.
She got into a fight with Sasha Banks. And now it looks like Sasha and Bayley might be angling against Lacey Evans and Dana Brooke.
Oh, wonderful.
Dana Brooke lost a match to Bayley, by the way, earlier.
Whatever, I don't care. Contest. That sounds great, though. We'll see more Dana Brooke wrestling and Lacey Evans, but we'll see more Dana Brooke wrestling.
One of Matt's favorite wrestlers, female wrestlers. Just the total package for Matt.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, yeah. And to be honest, they're both kind of like relatively like built women.
Yeah.
I mean, all the women are athletic and fit and strong.
Mm-hmm. But Sasha Banks
and Dana Brooks, they got some fucking guns on them.
Yeah, Sasha Banks isn't cut at all. She's just, slim and lithe.
Yeah, no. I mean, excuse me, we're talking about the ladies wrestlers' bodies, but to be honest, we talk about the men too. But I just want to see Dana Brooke do more because I like Dana Brooke. So that'd be nice. So, and Lacey Evans, I think her goddamn I was painted on the side of a B-52 bomber. I think that works better as a face. I think that whole Southern Belle, you nasties things clashes with her overall aesthetic. So. Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think it can work. Well, I'll tell you what did work. NXT. They beat AEW in the ratings in a landslide.
Well, they had a championship shift, didn't they?
They had a championship stacked show. So Adam Cole beat Finn Balor in the opener for the NXT title.
Okay.
Because Johnny Gargano returned.
Was it Finn Balor or the Demon?
No, regular Finn Balor. I would have said the Demon. And that's because Johnny Gargano returned, and it looks like they're going to pick up the Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano feud that they wanted to do before Gargano got injured.
Johnny Wrestling. Okay. Oh, well, that's all sorts of exciting. It's nice because you can sort of take Adam Cole and put him elsewhere and then continue this feud all by itself. Mm-hmm. So.
And then Adam Cole can circle back to whoever wins this feud later.
Oh, yeah. No. Clever writing. Okay.
We had some grudge matches, too. Damian Priest beat Killian Dane.
No. I like Killian Dane, but okay.
I think this particular feud has been good for both wrestlers, so it's not just being buried.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing can be said for Cameron Grimes defeating Kushida, because Cameron Grimes had been getting the short end of the stick in their feud up until then, so it was nice to see him actually get a win and move forward.
Mm.
And there was actually a couple other matches. There was Io Shirai defeated Santana Garrett, who's relatively new, but a talented wrestler. She was in the first women's tournament that they did. And then Pete Dunne fought Travis Banks in a Worlds Collide preview, even though they're technically both NXT UK wrestlers. I guess they think more... I think Pete Dunne has transitioned full-time to regular NXT at this point. And then, the best for last. There was the Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley match.
Mm-hmm. And Rhea Ripley came out on top.
She sure as heck did, and it was one of those classic, fight to the bitter end, babyface overcoming the heel, and, Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke trying to, attack and run interference on the sideline for Shayna Baszler, etc., etc.
You know what? You need those kind of matches. You need those kind of title changes on television every now and then. Then it's good for the pay-per-views, but you need them on TV every now and then. And I feel like a lot of the TV title changes in recent years, not recent years, but a lot of the title changes happen on television that people remember, like Mankind winning the title.
Or Brock Lesnar beating Kofi Kingston.
Yeah. Or yeah. All of that happened, on How dare you?
It's just like, yeah, I applaud you for trying to hold it together as long as you did.
You're right, you son of a bitch. But yeah, no, you need those kind of title changes on television every now and then. And Rhea Ripley is super over. So,
you know what else is also super over?
What?
Shayna Baszler's 416-day title reign.
That. More than a year right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of days.
Yeah, no. Not something to... I almost said not something to choke a stick at. Not something to shake a stick at,
For sure.
You've heard that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that road.
I think that you and I agreed in a prior episode, or at least I made the case, that Shayna Baszler probably was the, marquee performer for NXT this year. So,
yeah,
or at least a marquee title holder, I would say. So,
yeah, she was probably in a slight edge over Adam Cole for, how prominent she was in that show.
It's good to see Rhea Ripley get over. Did they mention how she's only 23?
Yeah.
Oh,
one of the younger champions in wrestling. In WWE wrestling, in fact.
So
yeah, then
AEW was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then we had AEW. Here's what AEW was doing. They opened with four of their biggest stars, Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus the Lucha Bros, Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr.
Goodness.
Which still, I think, what some people, from what I'd seen from some people who had watched both, thought that even though that's really good performers, it wasn't even up to par to the championship match that kicked off the other one.
I mean, sometimes, you have good performers and good writing, but you just need it. You need that spark. You need that mystical, tangible, incapable of describing doohickey.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there.
The Butcher and the Blade beat Cody and Darby Allin in a tag match following up last week.
Cody Allin or Cody Rhodes?
Cody and Darby Allin.
Cody, I know, but
Cody and Darby Allin. That was it. That's an additional wrestler.
Okay, so it's not Cody Allin. It's Cody Rhodes.
Correct.
Well, we can't say Cody.
They he was listed here as the American Nightmare Cody.
Mm-hmm.
And in it was a non-title challenge match. I think I had mentioned that it might have been a title match last week. Chris Jericho took on Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy from that Luchasaurus stable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, because Chris Jericho said you wouldn't last 10 minutes with me in the ring. So they did a 10-minute non-title challenge match.
Did he last 10 minutes?
He did.
Good. Fuck you, Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually fun. I like that kind of match sounds great.
Yep.
It gives a lower card wrestler a chance to shine. Doesn't necessarily bury the top talent. Gives them comeuppance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, actually, Jericho was, he was given some comeuppance. Yeah, they actually put the Walls of Jericho on Jungle Boy for the final 10 seconds of the match. And the bell rang before Jungle Boy tapped. He didn't. He never tapped. So Jericho was like, "God damn it! That can't be right. Give me 5 more minutes." So they started to do 5 more minutes, and Jungle Boy hit him with a crucifix pin and got a 2 count. And Jericho was like, "Oh shit!" And then he ran out with the championship.
Now that's some quality heel work.
It was very good.
Say what you will about Jericho. I don't think anybody is going to shit talk the man after all these years, but no. That is a professional who knows how to do his heel stuff.
Damn straight. And so they did find there was a new number 1 contender for the women's title.
Okay.
Named. So Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, lost to Chris Statlander, who is only been on the show for like 2 weeks, but she's got some... her gimmick is that she's kind of like in touch with nerd culture, I believe, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Because you know what her finisher is called?
Funko Pop action figures.
She hasn't been made into one yet.
That's how you know you've made it. Is when Funko Pop makes you.
Oh, here's her Twitter bio. She's the galaxy's greatest alien stunt woman.
Okay.
So she's got some sort. Okay, that's what it is. Her gimmick is that she's like an alien.
Well, I mean that's cool.
Because her finisher is called the Big Bang Theory.
Actually, that's not a bad name for a finisher.
Not at all.
Nerd gimmick aside.
I don't believe it's a nerd gimmick. I think it's more of a nerd acceptable gimmick.
You're going to have to distinguish those two.
She's the galaxy's greatest alien. So she's an alien. She's not a nerd. She's an alien.
Okay, so what you're saying, she's not a nerd. She's not like Sheldon naming...
No, she's an alien.
Okay.
Apparently.
She's a gimmick that appeals to nerds.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to do.
She's not like Erwin R. Shyster, but who has opinions of Lord of the Rings.
So, of course, if I go to her Instagram, one of the first pictures I see is her cosplaying as Rogue.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. What's her name again?
Chris Statlander.
Chris Statlander.
KrisStatlander.
You know what? If I search for this, it's going to ruin my algorithms forever. So
No, it won't.
No, for real. I've got like wrestlers and My Hero Academia out the wazoo right now, and I have no idea what I did to get the latter. So
who knows? Anyway, so she's got the rocket strapped to her and she's riding up. My good friend Sean Spears, FKA Ty Dillinger, looks like he asked his manager Tully Blanchard to find him a tag team partner so he can take over the tag team division. So hopefully the days of him eating pins is coming to a middle, and he can join the tag team division.
I do miss the Perfect 10 gimmick that he had.
I do too, and we'll see. Maybe his tag team member will be 5, and he'll be 5, and together they'll be a Perfect 10.
I don't know. WWE might have their claws in the Perfect 10.
Speaking of the tag team championships, they were defended in the main event as the Young Bucks challenged for SCU's tag team championships.
Okay, who won?
SCU, Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky were able to defend against the Young Bucks and hold on to their tag team titles.
Very good.
It was a good match, so, if you get a chance to catch it, you should.
Okay. Well, it sounds like even though it was a sleepy sort of go home week, there were some big things happening, at least in the NXT division.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of things going. I don't know what AEW has going forward. Maybe they have the women's championship gonna happen sometime this week. But, WWE at least is pushing forward a couple of storylines, so we have something to maybe look forward to over the last couple of weeks of the year.
Yep. And speaking of the year is almost over. I nominate that for Segue of the Year. Get it? Because we're gonna talk about what?
I was just letting all of the people voice their opinions and praise towards Segue of the Year for that.
Oh yes, no, I'm sure that as soon as people heard that, they were like shouting and yelling and hitting the dashboard in their car
Alexa,
as they listened to us on Spotify or iTunes or Google Play or YouTube or whatever. But yes, no, the year is done. The year is done.
No.
So unlike Pete Dunne,
Alexa, turn on the game room.
Segue of the Year forfeited. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm done. Yeah, no. Let's go to the next segment.
Yeah. So here it is. Everything that we liked about wrestling this year, and the things that we didn't like as much about wrestling this year.
So, I'll lead off. Well, you know what? Let's do like a 1-2-1-2-1-2. I'll say something, you say something. I'll say something, you say something.
Sure.
How does that sound?
Go for it.
Okay, that'll work.
Alexa,
all right, I'm gonna start off.
Turn on the lights.
The thing I was happy with this year, and this is something I wished for last year, because we did our end of the year show, and the question we asked ourselves was, what do we want to see in the next year? And my number one thing was competition on television against the WWE. And we have that now with AEW Dynamite. So I'm pleased with that. I'm happy that that's there. I feel like it's the grit you need to make the pearl when it comes to good wrestling television. True, AEW is only competing against WWE one night of the week. WWE has 3 nights of the week, but and still, it's there.
It's only really competing against NXT at this point.
True.
So,
but
along those lines, one of the things that I was really happy for is kind of the mirror to that. Like the rise of the NXT yellow brand as its own serious standalone brand. And that was kind of cemented when they got their own television show this year. And then in Survivor Series, where they were given a great showing and were given the edge in the brand supremacy match. So
yeah.
I'm excited that they are finally giving that brand the full shake and the full treatment. So that's what I was happy about.
And people who've been watching WWE wrestling for a while now have known that NXT is a standout show.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic, and almost any NXT takeover they had, for the most part, eclipsed whatever WWE pay-per-view was coming afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was only in recent times that the NXT takeover, I think it was the Survivor Series one, was only just as good as Survivor Series because there were so many NXT people on Survivor Series. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you there, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so now it's my turn. One of my favorite things this year was the way they handled Kofi Mania. I know it might seem like a million years ago and irrelevant at this point, but at the beginning of this year, Kofi Mania was going strong. We had Kofi prayer circles on the Reddit, on the subreddit for wrestling. You had gauntlet matches where Kofi had to beat all these dudes. You had gauntlet matches where Big E and Xavier Woods had to defeat these tag teams so that Kofi could go, which I thought was a stroke of genius. And then Kofi won at WrestleMania. And then they snatched away that Daniel Bryant, let's be green and save the earth, which is important. But they snatched that away, and they had the old belt back, and they held him aloft, and that was just probably the best managed angle of the year, in my opinion, was Kofi Mania and the payoff at WrestleMania.
And that was actually one of the things that made WrestleMania 35 one of my favorite parts of the entire year. Not only did we get the payoff to that storyline done well, mimicking Daniel Bryan's storyline from 5 years prior, but still very, very fun.
Which, by the way, hats off to Daniel Bryan for selling that shit. And as far as I understand, he was wholeheartedly in with getting Kofi over. So
absolutely. And not only was that, basically every title changed that night, and the local people got to go over. So Tony Nese got to win the Cruiserweight title, and Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, the New York boys, got to win the tag team titles. And the Australians got to win the women's titles. They weren't the local people, but they were beloved by the locals anyway. There was a huge pop when they won. The Man got to win, and there was a small pop when she won, because it was 5 hours into the show. But it still was what everybody wanted. So all the good guys won. Brock Lesnar got the title taken away from him by Seth Rollins, and we were very excited about that.
And that happened immediately.
Mm-hmm. And we were able to just, like, live the whole rest of the night without that, like, hanging over our heads that there might still be Seth Rollins, losing to Brock Lesnar inevitably at the end. So that was great. And
was that the first WrestleMania you attended in person?
Correct, it was. I have attended live events. That's the first pay-per-view that I have attended live in person as well.
Oh yeah, that must have been special for you, and I know Joe was there too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, Joe was there too. The two of us, we did a live podcast from WrestleMania. So not only for us, me as a fan, but for us as the show, it was really cool as well. We had to do the live podcast from there, a couple of live broadcasts from inside the stadium. I had to talk to a bunch of people about our show. So we had a lot of fun that time. What? Anything else good that you liked from this year?
No, that's it.
Okay, because I had 3, so it probably would have made more sense for me to go first. So you went in between.
Nope, I've screwed this up. Wait,
yep.
Nope. I think I like 3 things. Kofi, NXT on television.
See, I made notes, so I can look down.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. This is okay. I should have made notes, but I didn't. No, I only had 2. Right. By the way, these are the 2 things I really, really, really liked. If you want me to choose the number 3, and I will here on the fly, it is the repackaging of Bray Wyatt.
Right.
However, you might have thought that has been handled in recent weeks.
The whole Firefly Funhouse thing. That is great. That is one of the best things that has happened this year for the WWE.
Everybody was excited about the Firefly Funhouse, and then the Fiend creeping in, and his first appearance against Finn Balor, where he broke the motherfucker's neck and killed him on stage, like immediately. I was like, "Oh shit! Oh shit!" You can ignore what happened with Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, but the rest of it has been okay. And I'm a big Bray Wyatt mark, and I really didn't see a way for them to bring him back. But Bray Wyatt himself, as a performer, has been very dedicated to this, very talented. He's always put in good performances, even if the writing has not been on his side.
Mm-hmm.
The Bray Wyatt and the Fiend character and the Firefly Funhouse and all the puppets, it adds that special sort of like theatrical horror element that I feel like needs to be there in wrestling. It might not have always needed to be there, because I don't know that it was a mainstay before you had characters like The Undertaker or something like that. But now it's something that I always crave in a wrestling show. And he sort of gives that to me. And I have been very happy with Bray Wyatt. And he's been on shaky ground lately, though. So I hope that they find a path for him and see the way. But, I got to give the WWE props for resurrecting Bray Wyatt.
The thing I'm going to give the WWE props for is allowing people to go without like completely damaging them. Like they let, especially knowing that AEW was not only coming, but in some cases was already here. So, like, the fact that they came to such an amicable split with Dean Ambrose, for instance, that they allowed him to be a focal point on the TV product all the way up to the end of his contract. They asked him to do one more show after the end of his contract to say goodbye to the Shield, which is like, hey, great, thanks for being such a pivotal part of our history in the last. Let's give you the biggest send out we can,
and
which is great.
Let's make clear for people listening for the first time, wrestling promotions in general, but the WWE maybe especially, has a history of shitting on people who are leaving their contract.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They will bury them. They will make them look stupid on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is an old school attitude where if they're going to another promotion, you want them to show up looking ridiculous, right?
Yeah. But the guys that they really like, they take care of. And then a lot of people do look stupid leaving their contract, but that's because the WWE just hasn't booked them well. It's not the fact, it's not like vindictive or anything. It's just that, like, yeah, they weren't using Ty Dillinger all that much. So they let him go. And now he's become one of the focal points of AEW. And, you know, even though Luke Harper asked for his release earlier in the year, they did eventually give it to him, and a couple other people who had asked for their release recently, knowing full well that we might see Luke Harper on AEW, and maybe as a member of the Dark Order in the 60 days or 90 days after his no compete clause breaks down. No compete, no compute. So it's interesting, and it looks like they might even be letting the performer who is performing as Sin Cara go and use Sin Cara. Like, I have not seen, last they actually switched. This is the second Sin Cara, so they own the Sin Cara like gimmick. They could just make a new Sin Cara, but I didn't see anything in their release statements or anything that they seem to be like moving up towards that says that they want to keep the Sin Cara name and everything. And if they're willing to let him use it at least on the indies, or maybe in AAA, the Mexican
I think they might have also realized that it's super hard to even a luchador, right, where you stick another mask on him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the television is HD now. You look at the motherfucker and you're like, nope, that's not the same wrestler.
Well, I mean, that guy has they did not have the same tattoos, so you could tell very much that it was, different. In this case, they may, maybe they come back and they put the Sin Cara mask on somebody and we go, oh, that can't be the real Sin Cara, yada, 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 and there's a storyline that goes along with that. Hopefully it would be better than the storylines that they've been tapping out this year, including the goddamn cuckolding storylines. What the hell? I hated that. That's one of the things that I disliked this year.
I'm with you there, Jesse.
Not only the Lana and Rusev bit, but
there's a Mike and Maria Canales as well, right?
Yep, and because of that storyline, I think Mike Canales was ready to go, and then they said, no, we're going to put you on regular TV. We're going to build an angle towards you even winning the 24/7 championship, but you have to be completely and utterly dominated by your wife, who they found out in the thing was pregnant, and then it just went on from there. And I think he wasn't being able to show his talent. He was only being able to show his talent as an actor, and it was a shitty role. So it was okay. Both of these angles were okay for the first week or two that they happened. And then we realized that there's no true depth to these angles.
No.
And the writers apparently didn't. So they're still going on. The friggin' Lana and Lashley got engaged this week or whatever.
Yeah, this feels like wrestling is often called a male soap opera, which it is in many respects. But this feels crude even for a soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, haha, I'm cheating on you, and I've posited that at least with the Lana and Rusev, that's a new mistake. With the Lana and Rusev angle, it feels like Vince McMahon is back there giving the middle finger to Lana and Rusev for having gotten themselves over, And they're like, all right, you're going to go fucking be in a cuckold angle with Bobby Lashley. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've gone along with it to an extent. They're under contract. They have to, right? I don't know how happy they are with it. I don't know how much they support it. I'm not saying that they're doing this against their will per se, but that's what it seems like. And the
maybe
fans,
Lana and Rusev actually are going through a thing, and they do want time away from each other, and maybe they actually are getting divorced. Who knows?
This is a weird way to work it out, and
it
the
is
fans
a weird way to work it out.
hate
But it would not be the first time that a real world story started off camera and then made its way on camera. Like
talking about the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth.
I'm talking about actually Lita, Edge, and Matt Hardy.
Oh no, yeah, no, that love triangle. Okay, I mean, yeah, there's fodder for things actually happening, and I feel like maybe they're building up towards in this angle. They're building up towards Alana and Rusev reuniting the way that Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man reunited after Sensational Sherry betrayed him back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's gonna work here.
Well, it will work. We'll accept it. Like, we won't reject it. We just might not be like, yay, and there's parades and shit.
We're not gonna pop like fireworks. We're gonna be like, oh, finally, that's over.
Yeah, we're gonna be like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Hooray for Rusev, yay, and that'll be it.
When Sensational Sherry was beating the shit out of the Macho Man in the ring, and Miss Elizabeth came in there and fucking dealt with that shit, and then he held her up in the air, I was like, yes! True love reigns! They handled that pretty well. This, I don't think this has the groundwork for that kind of payoff, I will say.
Yeah, well, what else do you hate?
Well, I mentioned that I was really happy with the way they handled Kofi Mania. I was also really disappointed with the way they handled Kofi Mania. At the end of the year, Kofi lost the title to Brock Lesnar on SmackDown on Fox in like 15 seconds. And okay, I've said this on the show, and you can go back and listen. I didn't think Kofi's title run was going to be for very long, because while I thought the Kofi Mania story was very cathartic, very well done, I didn't think the WWE saw him as a long-term title holder, and to be honest, I think the fans maybe didn't either. And they would have been happy if he had dropped it after a couple of months to somebody super deserving with a fantastic angle that had been built up. It's weird because they had a Kofi family angle with who? I forget.
Samoa Joe, which was the exact same angle that he had with AJ Styles.
Yeah, and so that was kind of, and we were like, whatever. And then he dropped it to Brock Lesnar, which we already had a sore spot about Brock Lesnar winning shit.
But even that, even if the match was like 10 minutes and Kofi fought valiantly but lost to the Conquering Beast, I think we would have accepted that. But the way it all went down, and the way like he never got a chance to compete again for that title or anything, the way that it just kind of like ended and poof, Kofi poofed, as we say on this show.
Yep. Said it on the show, Kofi poof. Mm-hmm. He was motherfucker was gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this is what the performer wanted. I'm sure it wasn't. It's just the way it was written, and Kofi did his job. And then he showed up later, and he was like, "Hey, pancakes!" Mm-hmm. Motherfucker wasn't even sad.
And he earned a brand new contract extension, so good on him. But still, like, it was a much more satisfying ending to be told to that, and for how good the first part of it was, the fact that they missed out on so much of it in the end,
because
was what rankled all of us.
You have the beginning, the rise in action, the climax, and then you have the denouement. And that is important. If you fuck that up, you could leave a bad taste in people's mouth.
Speaking of, you have where the Hell in a Cell match, where The Fiend probably should have beaten Seth Rollins for the title. And when he doesn't, everyone goes, why? Why not? And when it's a bullshit ending, you go, well, why did they even do this? The answer is because they wanted Saudi Arabia to feel better. And that's one of the things that I was not excited about. Listen, I understand, but the bread and the butter is here in the US, and you run the risk of alienating fans if you save title changes for overseas.
And we on this show have gone out of our way to say that we understand there are legit, innocent, hardcore wrestling fans in Saudi Arabia, and we want them to have a good time. We want them to have the special show. We want them to experience wrestling the way we do. But
if there's going to be a title change, build it up in a traditional style and have the payoff be, overseas. I can live with that. If I miss it, so what? I'll watch it later. This one I didn't even watch because I didn't even care. You got the build up and the payoff was supposed to be Hell in a Cell, and then you just kind of got a hold button for a week so that they could just do it in Saudi Arabia instead. So let's not do that in the future.
Sorry, I was choking on my rage.
I know. I'm right there behind you too. I'm ready to die. Why don't you tell us what you hate, and we'll go from there.
Well, I think I already said everything I hate.
Just the Kofi Mania?
Forget something. Kofi Mania, yes.
And concurring on cuckolding?
Oh yes, I concur on the cuckolding. Ooh, hey, that's like a new hashtag. Concur on the cuckolding. No, that's pretty much all I hated.
There was more that you hated. That's just the two biggest things off of the.
Yeah, those are the two biggest things I hated. Okay, yeah. Well, you know what I hated? Oh, it's not coming to me.
No, there's so much love. This show is more about love.
We're too positive here, aren't we?
It is. This is the power of positivity. Well, I'll tell you what. Stop having Sonya Deville tap out. It's not worth anything at this point. Yeah, of course you wrote in the review, and somebody probably said on commentary that she's tough and she's super tough, and Carmella getting her to tap is a great thing. It's not. She's already tapped like 18 times. She's never caused anyone to tap in the WWE, and she's never had a major storyline or rivalry. So just leave it be. Build her up some more before you go to break her down. That's all I have to say about that. Let's get out of here. I'm done with this. We're all done with this. Before I get too angry and get too hot, I'm gonna have to go into the hot tag. Hot take. Yes, that is much more of a valid offer for Segue of the Year. Thank you very much.
I think we were almost simultaneous there, yes. So if you're tuning in for the first time, the hot tag, hot take, is where, as a tag team, we have a hot tag and a hot take. That means we get to say whatever we want about wrestling, whether it's directly related or tangentially related, whether we saw a good wrestling match that we liked, whether we have a report on DDTs, or whether we burned some toast and it looked like John Cena. That all can qualify for the hot tag, hot take. So typically what happens is somebody will tag in and they will say,
hot tag, hot take! And when they yell in and interrupt the other person, or in this case, finally get the hot tag from the person who's been floundering terribly, they then talk about one big thing. And for me, I am excited about upcoming this year. There's a lot of TakeOver coming up this year. So you have a UK TakeOver show and the pre-Royal Rumble TakeOver show. I believe that's the Portland show. Both in January. So as you heard my love for the yellow brand earlier, we're going to get to have two high-quality NXT TakeOvers this month. And that's kind of a once-in-a-blue moon situation. So sit back and enjoy it when it comes to you. Enjoy the good things when they're there.
So, hot tag, hot take. It's my turn. And as you all know, I'm a Dana Brooke fan. And it seems like her and Batista have been sort of like feather dancing at each other the way birds do, right? At least over social media. And lately, Dana Brooke dropped a Batista bomb in a match. Did I say this last time?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, well, I'm saying it again. Wonderful. I hope it works out for them. Dana Brooke, work on your power bombs. Power bombs are one of my favorite wrestling moves, and it fills me with glee to see you do one.
Well, I can tell you this much. It wasn't last week because you weren't here last week. I had to do a solo finisher last week.
What did you come up with for your finisher last week?
I was the I'm here, which was an Orange Cassidy inspired.
Were you kicking him in the shins?
No, I was just kind of like, I was like, nah, and then I started to walk out of the ring, and then when the I didn't just like kind of slowly walk out of the ring, and when the opponent came out of the ring after me, I popped him right in the mouth, rolled back in, took a 10 count, and then went home.
I'll tell you what, this week, we're all here. So, all of us, me and you, go into the ring to our opponent, hands in our pockets, and we start leisurely kicking him in the shins. And he's confused by it, and he looks at the ref, and the ref is like, I don't know. But we kick him in the shins, we kick him in the shins. And he starts walking back to the locker room, and we kick him in the shins, we kick him in the shins. And he gets in his Uber, and we get in with him. And we kick him in the shins, we kick him in the shins. While we're listening to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast, which you can find on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean. Just go and Google Mark and Smark Connection podcast. Kick him in the shins. He goes to his hotel room, kick him in the shins. And then finally, at the gate of the airport, we're kicking him in the shins. And he said, look, I give up. And we sort of raise our hands. The bell rings. And that's the end of the match. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. My name is Matt. I am the Mark. Jesse is the Smark. You can find us where we said you could find us, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. Kick him in the shins. Kick him in the shins. Kick him in the shin. Kick him in the shins.
We won.
We won.